Hi guys, we're in questions in chapter 1. Like we just got inundated emails, the live audience. So we're going to go right into it. We're going to start with Sarit, and don't forget we're on page about-ish 23 in Marriage Secrets, and stay tuned. Okay, go ahead. Ask your question, Sarit.
Okay, so this is Leah for chapter 1, where we covered so many topics and people had so many questions, we just couldn't cover it.
Okay.
So we were talking about how men need control and women don't, men need to feel like they're in control and it's not a woman's thing. So Tali asked, I know that women are like the neck and men are like the head. We direct the direction of our homes. Is that why we might hold more of the responsibility of the marriage?
Wait, hold on a sec. Let me just tell the joke you're telling. That's where my head went. Is the man is the head of the household, right? This is a joke, and everyone's like, and you say, but the woman's the neck, okay? And our men on this staff are like looking like,
That's right.
They're not happy about
She controls the movement of the head. The head ain't going nowhere without the neck.
That's exactly it. So, okay, it's very cute.
Yeah. So basically,
her question is,
she's saying, if we direct the direction of our homes, is that the reason why we have more of the responsibility of improving our marriages?
Well, sure, but there's a difference. You think of it like this. Now, this is going to be political tsunami against Leah Richeimer, okay, against our Masora, against our 3,000-year-old bulletproof, guaranteed to make you happier than you've ever been in your life, okay? Like guaranteed. Okay, so what I'm going to say, it might rub you the wrong way, but just understanding this way God created women and God created men. And there's some variance and we can make huge generalizations, but if you can understand this and go with the flow for just a little bit, try this at home, okay? If you can do that, you will see miracles in your life, miracles in your relationship, miracles. The Shekhinah, God's presence, will flow into your home because he guarantees he will bring blessing when there's shalom in the home. So here, keep that in mind when I tell you what I'm about to say, which is make your husband the captain of the ship. He is the captain already, but women, elbow him away and say, I'm going to steer this thing. And, they're sitting there steering it and they're crying their eyes out because they don't have a man to look up to. Well, lady, you just threw him out on the curb and in the gutter and he's lying there. You threw him there, so of course you don't have something. So you're like, well, I don't need a man to look up to. What kind of an old fashioned, whatever. Listen to your heart and listen to your neshama, your soul. And let the noise and the clatter of 10, however old you are, 23, 78 years of indoctrination about how things should be and how we should be equal and how he should, like that. All of that indoctrination, push that aside for a second and make your husband the king of your home for 10 minutes. And you will see your husband taking care of you in the way you have always wanted to be taken care of since you became cognizant at 3 years old or 5 years old or 10 years, whatever, whenever you became aware of your surroundings and we all want to be taken care of. Men also want to be taken care of. And there's a whole other role of whatever. But the point I'm saying right now, try this at home. I'm not saying throw everything away. And I'm not saying women shouldn't be equal. Why would women want to be equal anyway? We're superior. Wink, wink. But I'm serious. They've got their skills. We've got our skills. We've got their soul that God was giving them and their way of being. And we also have ours. And if we can fulfill on who we truly, truly are, that satisfaction and that joy and that, I want to say glee, I don't know what the right word is, just ecstasy of fulfilling our shlemus, our and perfecting ourselves and getting mastery and being the best, being the best us we can possibly be. So here's the thing, to answer her question, is that the way that God has created is that there can't be two kings in one house. Then you've got battles. You got, you can't have two kings. So he made the husband the king. So is that fair? I don't know if it's fair or not. I know what works. What works, if you make him the king, right? And he becomes the captain of the ship and you become the navigator. right? And if you're the navigator trying to control him and elbow him off the steering wheel, and you're trying to, I'm using so many metaphors, king and captain and whatever, but you get the point, okay? But if you are constantly trying to battle him, he's going to grab that steering wheel and shut up. He's not going to listen to a word. But if you say, I think that as the navigator, if you present it as I'm your Azer Connector, I'm your helpmate opposite you. Here's what I think that here's some ideas, and let him take control and let him steer it where he wants. But you say, I think we're about to crash into it. What are those things that the Titanic crashed in? Not iceberg. No, but right. Like, I think we ought to steer this way. He's going to listen to you. If you're saying, we don't go that way, go that way, he's going to go right into the iceberg. So you have a lot of power in your influence, and you're letting him have his control, and you are his influencer. So that's what it means by he's the head and the woman's the neck. But if the woman is trying to pull all his power away, he's not listening to, he's not listening to you. He will not listen. But if you let him have that control and let him have the power that he was born with and that he needs to exercise, if you let him have that, then he'll turn to you all the time. You think we should do this? You think we should do that? And your influence will be huge in his life because he trusts you. And even if he thinks you're wrong and you say, I just have a gut feeling about it, because you have given him so much power and let him have control 1,000 times. So in the 1,001th time, is that right? When he totally disagrees with you, he'll go with what you're saying, because so many times you have gone his way. So that's the answer to this question, is let go. That expression, let go, let God. God actually created you in a certain way. You will be more fulfilled. And again, please try this at home. Don't just be mad at me and write me an email. Thank God I don't get these, but saying, oh, how could you say that? Whatever. Try this at home. And I've done this for, many decades. And I've had women and they say, I was so mad when I, first heard these things out of your mouth or whatever. But when I started just letting my husband set the table wrong and let him do the dishes with soap on them and still put them away and just let him be him instead of, trying to micromanage and control him, there was a serenity in my life that I never had before. Try it, you'll see. And let me know. Leah, info@ladiestalkshow.com. Okay, Sari, what's the next question?
So firstly, Ora said, is that why the term pain in the neck is so popular?
There you go. That's it. Okay.
So Margot says, hi, Margot here. Can you give us some examples of how to make our husband the king? Just some practical examples. Thanks and love you.
Okay. Ooh, love you too. Thank you very much. Very appreciated. Okay. So some examples. Okay, ladies, the political tsunami is going to wipe me away, but you asked for it. So I'm giving them. And the thing is, I'm going to give them all to you and you're going to be like, but you have to understand the payback is soon in coming. So number one, never, not ever sit in your husband's chair. Don't sit in his chair. It's his chair. He's the king. And you wouldn't go like up to, the president of the U.S. and go sit and walk into the Oval Office and plop down in his chair. You would not do that. Your husband is the king. Now you think, well, that's ridiculous. He wouldn't even notice. He wouldn't even care. He lets me. He did whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, you set this precedent. And a lot of women say, oh, my husband is so meh. You want to give vitality to your husband. You want to make him feel like a man. You want to make him feel like he's the king of the world. It's in your eyes. It's not like the accolades of hundreds of people clapping and saying is fantastic. A big speaker, literally he gets a fortune when he speaks and he speaks whatever. He told me the only opinion that matters to him is his wife's. He said, everyone can come up to me. He can have a line of people saying, oh, that was the greatest speech ever, or whatever. All he cares about, was it good, dear? He wants your opinion. This is your husband wants you to think high of him and to hold him in high esteem. So the number one, don't sit in his chair. If I need to, like sometimes I'm leading a staff meeting or something and everyone's around the dining room table or, a charity event, something, and I have to sit at the head of the table. It's kind of awkward for me to sit over there, and the other side where I would sit has my back to the door. So I do have to sit in my husband's location. I always turn it like that. Now I have full permission from my husband. You can sit, come on, don't give me a break. I've never I hope, I don't know, maybe we'll have a camera, but I've never sat in my husband's chair without it just being a little crooked. And he knows that. He'll walk into the room and he'll kind of, he knows he is the king in my eyes. And what that does for a man's self-esteem, I can't begin to say. So that's number one, never sit in his chair. Number two, this one's hard, and that is not to interrupt him. If you actually, we don't have royalty in, whatever, as like they did in the old days or whatever, people would tremble, So I'm not saying you have to tremble in front of your husband. He's your buddy, he's your pal, he's your best friend, but I am saying that we just take liberties, like as if he was our kid, he starts saying, well, I know what you're gonna, you just start finishing the sentences, you ask him questions in the middle, try not to say anything. Just try it. I had a woman and she said to me, her husband and her, they've been married, I think it was like 35 years, a long time. And she said there was a constant level of, she called it tension, just all this bickering. It was always like, they talked to each other in clipped tones or whatever. There was just this tense, they loved each other very much. They had a happy marriage. She said that, it was a very successful marriage, but there was always this low level of tension in the room. And then I gave this homework of not to interrupt him. And she said, total game changer. Like from one day to the next, this is how their house had been, and this is how their house was now. She said she still has to bite her tongue 10 times a day. She said she only got half good at it. She said with only not interrupting him half as much as I did before, not completely not interrupting him, but half as much interrupting him, it's gotten like a total game changer. She said, I'm looking forward to, as I grow in this and as my muscles at being able to shut up. There was a t-shirt and it said, help, I'm talking and I can't shut up. I showed it to my husband and he was good for him. He did not say a word. He didn't say, you definitely need that shirt. Right? So anyway.
It's like, where do I buy it?
Yeah, right. Is that on Amazon? Where do I get that? Okay. So, but the issue is, as you get better and better at not interrupting, you will see the closeness in that relationship go. And you will also see, like, Leah, excuse me, because I've had this before. Leah, excuse me. He interrupts me constantly. I can't say a sentence without him finishing my sentence or saying what he thought or whatever. I get it. And you might have to live with that. And you might be able to, at some point after you've become expert at it and you can actually walk the talk, if you were sitting there interrupting them constantly, say, you always interrupt me. It's like, but if you get better at it, it gives you more of a leg to stand on 3 months, 6 months later to sit down and say, I just wanted to point out, I worked really hard at not interrupting you. If you got a little better, that would be appreciated. If you don't, okay, I can still live with it. If you give someone the freedom to grow, then they will. Whereas if you force them to grow, they'll dig their heels in. So that might be a way of handling it. Okay, third, respect. And actually, the marriage secrets, if you go through here, there's a whole chapter and there's like, I don't know, a lot, dozens of different things you can do for respect. So let me think what would be if I had to just limit it to 3. So the first one is not sitting in his chair. Second one is not interrupting him. And the third one is, okay, this one actually isn't in the book, but I was just thinking about this lately, about how crucial it is to, I don't want the men to hear, men on the staff, block your ears. No, it's okay. You could listen. I don't know, but how crucial it is to laugh at every joke your husband makes. So I would call that respect, but also call that a secret to closeness, because, I know a lot of women and, the husband will say something and the wife will go, like he'll make a bad pun, whatever, as if he's dirty laundry and they're throwing it away. It's so not nice. And what gives a man enormous pleasure and enormous wanting to be close to his wife and wanting to be near her and wanting to come home early from work and wanting to spend time with her is if she is joyous at when he expresses himself. And so much, my husband's got a terrible sense of humor. No. You have a terrible sense of appreciation. Okay, you have to work at appreciate, as dopey and stupid as your husband's jokes are. I'm telling you right now, if you did this only one thing in your life this year to work on laughing at his jokes, you will find a harmony in your marriage that may never have existed before. Work on it, because sometimes they're very hokey jokes and they're very dumb and whatever. Laugh before he gets the word out. Doesn't matter. Develop a good fake laugh. I don't care what you have to do. I'm telling you that the women who suddenly put their husband down, he's expressing his thing. He's offering you up a gift, and he's handing you a piece of chocolate cake with peanut butter frosting. Does that sound good? I don't know, whatever. Or peanut butter. I made peanut butter brownies. OMG. Okay, with chocolate frosting, something. He hands it to you, and you're saying, then you're throwing it away with the garbage. I'm telling you, laugh at his jokes. Okay, let's go to the next question. Was that clear?
Okay,
Clear?
yeah,
You got that? Got that? You got that, Street? You're going to start laughing? Haha. Let's hear your fake laugh. Come on. Let's hear your
firstly,
fake laugh.
Margot actually said, love the examples. But it happens to be, before I continue her next part that she asked, because she checked in on that and what you were saying, is that Lena said, I started doing every time I interrupt my husband, I have to give $1 to an organization I'm not such a fan of.
Oh, that's interesting. Good.
That's good. I think some organization is making a lot of money off of Lena.
Right. I want to hear your fake laugh. Let's do an example. Come on. Like, ha, ha, ha. No, that's too fake. Okay, like,
I can totally do it. I'm an actress, you know that. Okay, so Margot said,
we want to hear. Come on, your fans are waiting, Sarit. Let's hear.
Okay, so pretend you're my husband and make a dumb joke.
Okay, so I don't know. Have a nice trip. See you next fall. Okay, something like that. Whatever, when someone trips. Okay. Oh yeah, you're good. That's good. But yeah,
I told you.
I told you I'm good. Yeah,
I'm really good. I'm really good.
Well, they couldn't hear what you were doing, but what you're doing was a great reaction. She's like that. So yeah, that would be easy.
You copied me perfectly. You copied me.
Okay. Go with the rest of her question.
Okay, so Margot continued saying, interrupting is the hardest because he can talk and talk. The bath is overflowing. The food is burning. How can I do both?
Excellent question. Okay, so fine. The bath overflowing, definitely turn the, whatever. So what you can say is I definitely want to hear what you have to say. Let me, can you give me 20 minutes? And then when I get everything set up, then I'll do it. And then really follow through on what you say. That's an easy fix. And if your husband is going, I give this homework to, I used to teach my private classes. I would say, that your homework this week is to listen to your husband for an hour. And they're like, what? And their husband talked for an hour. Okay. But the reason is because they've had 10 years of, you say, how are you doing? You say to them, how are you? And they say, fine. You say, okay, good. Well, listen to what happened to me today, and they say, oh, my husband never talks. Well, if your husband comes home and you say, how was your day? And he says, fine. Anything happened? No. Any news? No. Your job as wifey is to get him to continue, is to keep asking questions until he talks, and don't ask things he can say yes or no to. So say, how did it go with the report that you turned into your boss? He can't say yes. He can't say no. He's got to say, oh, we didn't get to it yet. So let's say he's trying to shut down, because men just have this barrier that they want to, women do not have that problem, speaking from experience. So for a man, you just need to probe and probe and probe. So the first month that you're really listening, and we're going to get to a whole section on listening, and it's mind blowing. Not only will it make you closer to your husband and close to everybody once you learn certain listening skills, but it will also give you a sense of really connecting with people. I don't know if you've ever had a situation where you're just sitting there and you feel like you go to your phone, who can I call? And you're scrolling through and you don't, and you have a feeling of, it's not lonely. Maybe it is loneliness, but it's also a sense of isolation that's sort of built into the Bria, built into the world. And when you are really listening to someone, that's bridged. You feel like you go to bed and your head hits the pillow and you feel like you really connected with somebody. And that's not through talking, that's through listening. It was a little bit of both, but really, really listening. So we'll get there. But for your husband, if he's not talking and he's talking for the first month or 2 or 3 of you really listening, he's going to let out 10 years of talking. After that, then it'll go back to normal. Okay, let's go to the next question. Oh, and I need water.
Okay, so actually Miriam piped in on this and said, I guess this is a really big one. It really hits home. She said, even if your husband says the same joke over and over and over again, and you've heard it 1,000 times, and then before you answer that, she did say, Can she have the peanut butter with chocolate frosting recipe?
Okay. There you go.
So
Okay,
we're gonna have to post that at some point.
Okay, okay, all right, okay. A lot of make a note. We have that in our family. What we do is we say, when someone starts the joke again, you say, "Oh yeah, that's joke number 47. Got it. Ha 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 ha." Whatever. So you can kind of be lighthearted about it. But if that's not going to work with your husband or in your family atmosphere or whatever, then you just have to laugh as genuinely ungenuinely. You have to laugh as heartfeltly as the first time you heard it. Okay, it's important, and you'll see. And then he'll get more jokes. If he, hopefully he may not, but chances are, if you're really he's looking for that certain reaction, and if he hasn't got it yet, he'll keep trying the same joke, waiting. But also, there's something about some of our greatest moments in our lives, you guys can attest to it, is when it's called, what do they call it in literature? They call it a throwback comment. So let's say in the opening scene of the book, the guy, the thunder's lightning, and he says, "Oh, that's lighting up my life," or something like that, whatever. And then, like in chapter 4 in the book, it will say, the woman will say, "You light up my life," or something. It's like a throwback comment to that's a big part of humor, is sort of referring back to things that happened before. And I don't know if I'm a throwback, that's Throwback Thursdays. Whatever. I'm not positive what it's called. But the bottom line is that those kind of inside jokes create a bond. So if he's saying the same joke again, he's trying to bond with you. Let him do it. Okay, next question.
Okay, so Esther says, is there a difference between supporting and respecting your husband?
Sure. Respecting is just what the words sound like, and people cringe when they think of respect. But if they realize that respect creates a bond, a tight bond, and builds up their husband the way they, it's like, "Oh, he's not the man I thought I was marrying." They're like this. Every wife has this like little, stickle disappointment in who he turned out to really be, and they're so mistaken, because they can actually build him into. They're not bringing out his potential. They could make him a greater man if they loved him enough and respected him enough and let him shine. And every man has his own secret key, and the woman is given by God this intuition of what her husband needs. She just doesn't, respecting him. Oh, come on. Oh my goodness, Leah, he can't even change a diaper properly. He can't even, are you kidding? Respect, as we talked about, is granted, never earned. And the more you grant your husband respect, the more respectful he'll be, and the more strength he will be able to show you. So let me get to the support issue. So support is it's kind of like carrying a yoke. How do you explain a yoke, Sarit?
A yoke?
Y-O-K-E.
Like a burden.
Burden, like a yoke, like somebody who has a yoke. I don't know, this is a dumb example, but of being a nice person, it's like, even in situations where they're annoyed or they're whatever, they can generally, they have this yoke. Is being a nice person a yoke? So anyway, support is a yoke. It's something that, through thick and thin, through whatever your husband's going through, is to be supportive of him. So even he says, "Okay, I want to write I want to do a project with my business. I'd like to open up, some warehouses and store Amazon stuff and ship it out and whatever." That's his decision that he wants to do. And you're like, "Well, have you thought about the fact that there's a lot of competition in that field? And have you thought about that?" And you give him all his opinion, and he wants to do it anyway. And you see him signing a lease for X amount of dollars that you're like, and you see, you're supporting him. He made the decision, and you are going to support him, because guess why, ladies? This is like game changer here. If you create shalom, peace in the home, and you just mavater, you just forgive, and you just go ahead and you support him, even when it's toughest, especially when it's toughest for you to do that, a blessed decision is better than the right decision every day of the week. Meaning, if you do everything with support and shalom and peace, God will bless it, and it will be successful, even if technically, if you looked at the statistics and you looked at the numbers, it shouldn't be a success. The warehouse, oh my goodness, but you supporting him because you're bringing that God's presence into it, because you're supporting him even when you're totally against the idea, but you're kind and you're supportive. And when one of the warehouses fails, you don't say, I told you so, but it fails and you're like, oh, every business has its ups and downs. We'll get there. If you are fully supporting, and you see this, if you see the most successful types of husbands, you see their wife is just like there. What do they say? Behind every successful man is a woman pulling all the strings or something. I don't know, whatever it is. I don't forget that joke, but I'm just saying that you can support him. So there's a big difference between support and respect. Respect is just something that you're granting him at every opportunity, and support is that when he's doing things that you don't necessarily agree with or whatever, you're still there for him. Okay, next question.
By the way, you started something like you always do when you start with these things, because we literally have Liana saying, like, carrying the yellow of an egg. And I'm like, no, not that yolk.
Yolk. I got the joke. So here I'm being politically correct. I'm doing my fake laugh. No, that's good. Okay, very good.
Next question. Rena asks, can you explain more about how when a woman gives, she's actually receiving?
Wow, that's a big question. Okay. How when a woman gives, she's actually receiving. Okay, so I explained this a little bit in last show about challah, about, she's making a, she's making the challah and baking the challah and taking the flour, but who did she get the oil from? Who did she get the flour from? Who did she get the sugar? All the blessing we know comes from the husband. So she can't really give him something that that's his, it's really his. So, your question, how does your question differ from that explanation there?
No, meaning to make it in terms of like everyone thinks that a woman needs to be the giver, and you've now told us that a woman actually needs to be receiver. So how does that play out if I'm actually is my giving receiving? It is. Like when you used to tell us in class, it's one of the biggest things you said, and I really took it to home. When our husband gives us a compliment and we say thank you, we are receiving, but we're actually giving him so much in the fact that we're accepting his.
Very good. Boy, I was smart back then.
I'm drawing a blank. Leah, I'm a good student. I'm a really good student. So I think that's what she's trying to clarify. Like, how is being, as normally we're told that we're givers, and now you're saying. I
was told by a rabbi. I asked this very question to a rabbi maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and what the answer I was given is that a wife gives by receiving, and that a wife can do chesed, an act of chesed, which is an act of kindness, which is baking the bread, or serving her husband dinner or whatever. That's an act of chesed, but that's not giving. Even it looks like she's placing the plate of food in front of him. It looks like she's giving him food, but the food is from him. Even if she works full time and he sits on the couch, all blessing comes through the husband, no matter what. Hard concept, but if you can at least wrap your head around it to give it a try, you'll see that if you take that paradigm of the husband's the giver and the wife's the receiver, and really live that on a daily basis. And we'll get into it much deeper as we go along in the shows. But if you take that to heart, then you will see there's a huge shift in your husband's ability to give you more, and that there'll be more blessing in your home. So it's a try this at home. I know it's hard to hear, especially first time. So, but to answer your question is that you have if you have a woman who's placing food in front of her husband, the food is from him. So that's an act of chesed, an act of kindness. It's not an act of giving. Okay, I think that's all we have time for today, guys. We're going to have to take more questions. A lot of these questions are so awesome, and I know we want to stick to the book, but I will tell you one thing: elucidating what the points are is crucial. Right now we're building the foundation to understand what is our Masorah for shalom bayis that's been bulletproof success for 3,000 years, and so this foundation of understanding these primary concepts is crucial. So we're going to take these Q&As, and I think we have a few more, and then we'll move on to chapter 2. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We will see you next time.